AITA for canceling the dinner I prepaid after my wife invited another man instead? I'm Wesley, 38, and when this happened, Alyssa and I had been married for 7 years. I was the kind of husband who kept extra phone chargers in both cars because she always forgot hers, saved receipts in the kitchen drawer, and convinced myself that not reacting meant I was being mature. For a long time, I thought I was giving my wife room to shine. I didn't realize she had started treating me like something that ruined the picture. Alyssa had always been naturally social. She could walk into a dinner, fundraiser, or crowded patio and somehow become the person everyone wanted to talk to. When we first got together, I loved that about her. I was proud to stand beside her while she told a story with one hand around my arm and the other moving through the air. Back then, she introduced me as her husband before she even introduced herself. Over the years, that changed in ways small enough for me to explain away. At first, it was photos. She would post pictures from events where I had been standing right next to her, but somehow I was cropped out. If I mentioned it, she said the shot looked cleaner that way. Then she stopped tagging me in anything. Then she began asking me not to post pictures of us without checking with her first. I don't want people asking questions, she once said when I tried to post a photo from our anniversary dinner. What questions? She stared at her phone instead of answering. Why does everything have to become a thing with you? I deleted the post. That became a pattern in our marriage. I would notice something. She would call my reaction the real problem, and I would apologize because I wanted the argument to end. I told myself I was choosing peace. What I was really choosing was silence. Alyssa's private dinner was supposed to celebrate a milestone that mattered to her. She described it as a night for close friends, relatives, and people who had supported her over the years. When she first mentioned it, we were eating takeout at the kitchen counter. She slid her phone toward me, showing me pictures of a hotel ballroom lounge with low lighting, glass walls, and a private cocktail area. "This place is perfect," she said. "It feels grown up without being stiff. It looks expensive." "It is, but it matters." Then she smiled and added, "It's important for both of us." That sentence stayed with me because it was the last time she referred to the event as ours. The venue needed a deposit and one card on file for the service hold. Alyssa said her card was too close to its limit because she had already paid for several other things. She asked me to use mine temporarily. "It's just for the hold," she said. "I'll handle the rest." I paid the deposit. A week later, she needed money for the floral upgrade because the standard centerpieces looked cheap in photos. I sent her the amount through Zelle with the note, "Event hold." A few days after that, she asked me to approve a photographer add-on, then an upgraded dessert presentation. Then she asked whether I would mind covering the open bar extension in case guests wanted to stay longer. Each request came with the same promise: "I'll settle everything after." I didn't mind paying. We were married. She said the night represented years of work and support, and I believed I was one of the people being honored by that idea. I even arranged a surprise dessert course through the venue manager. Nothing huge, just a small presentation with candles and a short message from me. The manager emailed me the confirmation. Alyssa found out I was coordinating with the venue when she saw an email notification on our shared laptop. She didn't look touched. She looked nervous. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I added something for dessert. Why didn't you tell me?" "It was supposed to be a surprise." She pressed her lips together. "Please don't tell people you covered any of this." I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. "I just want one night that feels like mine," she said. I should have asked why my support made the night feel less like hers. Instead, I told her I understood. The printed invitation arrived 3 days before the dinner. It was thick, cream-colored cardstock with gold lettering. My copy said Alyssa's name, the event time, and plus spouse near the bottom. I held it up and said, "I guess I made the cut." She barely looked over from the couch. Obviously, the night of the dinner, Alyssa got ready in the bedroom while I stayed out of her way. Earlier that afternoon, she had sent me a mirror picture in her dress, and her wedding ring was visible. By the time she came downstairs, the ring was gone. I noticed immediately. "You forgot something," I said. She checked her earrings, then her clutch. "What?" "Your ring." She looked at her left hand as if she had never seen it before. "It doesn't work with the other jewelry. It's a wedding band." "Wesley, please. Not tonight." I didn't push. I had gotten used to being told that timing was the problem whenever the subject was uncomfortable. She had arranged to arrive early with Tessa, one of her close friends, because she wanted to check the table settings. I was supposed to arrive later so, in her words, I wouldn't be standing around while they finished. Before she left, she handed me 2 garment bags and a small box. Can you bring these? What's in the box? Place cards. Don't open it. I carried them to my car. That detail bothered me later. I had transported the place cards to an event where my own name had been removed. I arrived at the hotel just before 7:30. I had the printed invitation in my coat pocket, a wrapped gift for Alyssa under my arm, and my valet ticket tucked behind my phone case. The ballroom lounge was at the end of a wide hallway lined with tall lamps and mirrors. I could hear music and conversation before I reached the check-in table. A young staff member in a black jacket smiled at me. Good evening. Name, please. Wesley. I'm with Alyssa. She ran one finger down the printed list. Then she checked again. I'm sorry, sir. What was the last name? I gave it to her. She searched the laptop. Her expression changed from polite to uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I don't see you on the guest list. I pulled out the invitation and placed it on the table. Can you check under Alyssa? I'm her husband. The staff member looked relieved to have something concrete to work with. Of course. One moment. She turned the invitation over, typed something, and glanced toward the cocktail area. I followed her eyes. Alyssa was standing near the entrance in the same dress from the mirror picture. Her left hand was wrapped around a champagne glass. No ring. Tessa noticed me first. She said something to Alyssa. Alyssa turned. She did not look surprised. She closed her eyes for half a second, set down her glass, and walked toward me with the irritated expression of someone being interrupted. What are you doing here? She asked quietly. I thought I had misheard her. It's your dinner. You said you were coming later. It is later. She glanced at the staff member, then at the guests behind her. Can we not do this at the entrance? I'm not doing anything. They said I'm not on the list. Her shoulders tightened. Tonight isn't about you. I know. I'm not asking for a speech. I'm asking why I'm not on the list. Alyssa leaned closer. You're making this awkward. The staff member tried to help. Ma'am, we can add him if you'd like. We would just need to confirm the seating placement. Alyssa turned sharply. No, he's just my ride. The words hit harder because she said them so casually. I stared at her. Your ride. She lowered her voice. Please don't make this embarrassing. The staff member looked down at the clipboard. I think she wanted to disappear for both of us. I said, Can I see the seating list? Alyssa answered before the staff member could. No. That was when I knew there was more than a missing name. The staff member shifted the clipboard, probably intending to move it out of sight, but the printed seating chart was already visible. I saw Alyssa's table first. Then I saw a typed note beside it. Spouse not attending. Seat reassigned to Julian per Alyssa. My original name appeared in lighter type beneath the note, crossed out with one black line. For a few seconds, the music from the lounge sounded very far away. I pointed at the page. You told them I wasn't coming? Alyssa looked at the chart and then at the employee. You weren't supposed to leave that out. The staff member's face went pale. I'm very sorry. I thought. It's not her fault, I said. Alyssa took my arm and tried to pull me away from the table. I stepped back. Who is Julian to you tonight? She released my sleeve. Don't start. I'm not starting anything. I'm reading the seat you assigned. At that moment, Julian walked over. He was wearing a dark suit and a narrow tie Alyssa had commented on in one of his social media pictures a few weeks earlier. In his hand was an old-fashioned, the drink I usually ordered when we went out. He gave me the kind of smile people use when they want to look friendly in front of witnesses. Hey man, I didn't know there was confusion. Julian was not a stranger. He and Alyssa had nearly dated before she met me. At least, that was how she described it. They had kissed a few times, spent one summer figuring out what they were, and then decided they were better as friends. For most of our marriage, he existed at the edge of our lives. A comment under a photo. A birthday message. A late-night text that Alyssa said was harmless. Over the previous year, he had moved closer to the center. He was suddenly invited to gatherings I was told I would not enjoy. He had opinions about our marriage despite barely speaking to me. He called Alyssa when she was upset with me, and she later quoted his advice during our arguments. Once, when I asked why he was texting her after midnight, she said, because he doesn't interrogate me. Now he was standing in my place at a dinner I had paid for. I looked at him and said, there isn't confusion anymore. He raised his free hand. No need to make this tense. Alyssa turned toward me with a tight smile. You're proving why I didn't want you here. That sentence did something strange to me. Until then, I had still been searching for an explanation that would let me stay. A clerical error. A last-minute seating problem. A misunderstanding caused by poor communication. Her words removed that option. She did not want me there. Not because there was no room. Because my presence interfered with the version of herself she wanted these people to see. I looked through the doorway at the room. There were candles on the tables. Flowers I had helped pay for. A photographer whose invoice had been charged to my card. A dessert surprise waiting for a wife who had introduced me as transportation. The wrapped gift felt heavy under my arm. I slipped it into my coat. Then I looked at Alyssa. If I'm not part of tonight, I won't fund it either. Her face changed. For the first time since she saw me, she looked genuinely alarmed. Don't you dare do this right now. You already did. Wesley, stop. We'll talk at home. I've been at home. Apparently, that's where you prefer me. She looked around to see who was listening. That reflex told me everything. She was not worried that I was hurt. She was worried that someone might notice. I handed the invitation back to the staff member. Sorry you got put in the middle. Then I walked away. Alyssa followed me halfway down the hall. Wesley. I kept walking. You are humiliating me, she hissed. I turned once. No. I stopped helping you humiliate me. I did not slam a door. I did not threaten Julian. I did not shout across the cocktail area. I walked outside, gave the valet my ticket, and called the venue manager while I waited for my car. My hands were shaking so badly that I had to press my elbow against my side to hold the phone steady. The manager recognized my name from the emails. Mr. Wesley, is everything all right? No. I need to remove authorization for any future charges tonight. There was a pause. He became careful and professional. To be clear, the deposit and the dinner service already in progress are non-refundable. The automatic gratuity attached to the contracted meal is also locked. I understand. I'm not disputing anything that has already been served or committed. All right. But my card is not authorized for anything else tonight. He listed the items that were still optional. The open bar extension, photographer overtime, the upgraded dessert service, and an additional floral display Alyssa had requested that afternoon. So no extension, no overtime, no dessert upgrade, and no floral add-on? He asked. Correct. The host will need to provide another card if she wants those services. That's fine. He sent an email while I was still on the phone. I opened it and confirmed the final 4 digits of my card and the withdrawal of authorization for unserved editions. The valet brought my car around. Before I left, I called Dean. Dean had been my closest friend since before I met Alyssa. He had watched me become more careful over the years, though he rarely commented unless I asked. He answered on the second ring. Aren't you supposed to be at the dinner? I was removed from the guest list. Silence. What? I told him what happened. I could hear myself speaking too quickly, so I stopped, breathed, and started again. When I finished, he said, Where are you? In the car. Are you driving? Not yet. Good. Don't. I leaned my forehead against the steering wheel. I feel stupid. No, Dean said. You were trusting your wife. That's different. I canceled the extras. Did you cancel anything already served? No. Did you threaten anybody? No. Did you send angry texts? No. Then keep it that way. Do not give her the clip she wants. What does that mean? It means she's going to tell people you had a jealous meltdown. Don't hand her a scene. Hand her a timeline. I looked at the email from the venue manager. Save everything, Dean continued. Receipts, confirmations, messages. Don't post. Don't call her parents. Don't contact Julian. Go home and let her explain why she needed her husband's card, but not her husband. I stayed parked for another 10 minutes. My missed call started before I pulled out. Alyssa called twice. Then 5 more times. Then the texts began. You're humiliating me. Put the card back before everyone notices. Do you understand what you're doing? The venue is asking me for another card. This is why I need space. That last one made me stop. Need space. She had not said that to me before the dinner. But the phrase sounded rehearsed, as if she had been using it somewhere else. I did not reply. By the time I got home, there were 23 missed calls. Some were from Alyssa. 2 were from Tessa. 1 was from Alyssa's mother. I placed my phone face down on the kitchen counter and stood in the dark. A couple's calendar notification appeared on the refrigerator display. Alyssa dinner, 7:30. I almost laughed. The calendar knew I was supposed to be there. My wife had made sure no one else did. The wrapped gift was still in my coat. I set it on the counter without opening it. Then I got my laptop and started reviewing the paper trail. The deposit confirmation named me as the cardholder. The photographer add-on was approved through my email. The Zelle transfer to Alyssa showed the note, event hold. There was a text from her 2 weeks earlier. Please don't mention you covered this. I just want one night that feels like mine. I read it several times. Mine, not ours. Another message said, the venue needs one card for everything. Can you handle it? I don't want to deal with payment questions during the event. Then, you'll come at 7:30. I'll have your place card at my table. The lie was not subtle once I stopped trying to protect it. I took screenshots of the few messages that mattered and saved the venue emails in a separate folder. Then I opened our shared social media accounts. I did not hack anything. I did not open her private messages. I just looked at what was already public. There were photos from gatherings where I had been cropped out. A picture from our anniversary dinner described as a quiet night celebrating myself. A photo of Alyssa and Julian at a patio event where she had told me spouses were not invited. The caption called him the person who always makes space for me. I remembered taking that picture. I had driven her there, waited nearby, and picked her up later. I had literally been standing behind the camera. Small erasures look harmless when you examine them one at a time. Together, they make a pattern. Alyssa came home after midnight in a rideshare. I heard the car door outside, then the front door opening hard enough to hit the stopper. She walked into the kitchen holding her shoes in one hand. Her mascara had smudged beneath one eye, but she was not crying. She was furious. What is wrong with you? I closed the laptop. Where's your ring? She looked at her empty hand and then back at me. Seriously? Yes. You ruined my dinner, and that's what you want to talk about? I didn't ruin your dinner. I left when you told me I wasn't invited. You pulled the card in the middle of the event. I removed authorization for add-ons that hadn't been used. You knew what that would do. It made you pay for your own choices. She tossed her shoes near the doorway. People noticed. Good. That answer surprised both of us. Alyssa stared at me. You wanted to embarrass me. No. I wanted to stop financing an event where you told people I was your driver. I panicked. You had a printed note saying I wasn't attending. It was a seating issue. You reassigned my seat to Julian. He was already there. So was I. She opened her mouth, then looked away. I said, why did you tell the venue I wasn't coming? Because I needed one night without you watching me. I wasn't watching you. You always make me feel monitored. By arriving at the dinner you asked me to pay for? She folded her arms. This is exactly what I mean. You turn everything into an interrogation. I kept my voice low. Did you tell Julian I wasn't coming? Yes, because I thought you understood. Understood what? That this was my space. You told me it was important for both of us. I changed my mind. When? She did not answer. I watched her expression shift. Anger first, then calculation. Finally, she said, you need to sleep somewhere else tonight. No. Her eyes widened. No. This is my home too. If you need space, you can choose another room. You are being controlling. No. I'm not leaving my home because you lied about me at a party. She picked up her phone. I can't talk to you when you're like this. When I'm calm. When you're punishing me. I walked past her and went to the guest room. I locked the door, not because I was afraid of her, but because I knew any conversation that night would become another circular argument. At 1:14 a.m., she texted me from across the hall. You have no idea what damage you caused. I replied once. Tomorrow, tell me why my seat was reassigned and why you called me your ride. Until then, there is nothing to discuss. She did not answer. The next morning, she was gone before I got up. There was a hotel receipt on the kitchen counter showing the remaining balance had been transferred to a different card. Alyssa had circled the amount in pen and written, "You owe me." I took a picture of it. Then I locked the shared credit card we used for non-essential spending. I did not touch the account we used for household bills. I did not leave her without groceries, transportation, or access to necessities. I simply removed my authorization from a card that had become her default method for social expenses. By noon, the story had already spread. Alyssa's mother called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was controlled but disapproving. Wesley, whatever happened, cutting off payment in front of people was unnecessary. Alyssa says you saw Julian, became jealous, and tried to destroy an important night. You two need to handle this privately. A cousin texted me that I had blown up over a seat. Someone else said Alyssa had been terrified by my behavior. That was almost impressive. I had said fewer than 20 sentences at the venue, apologized to the staff, and left without raising my voice. Yet in less than 12 hours, I had become a man who stormed into a dinner, saw another man, and used money to control his wife. Dean called around lunch. She moved fast, he said after I told him about the messages. She told her family before she came home. Of course she did. What am I supposed to do? Send everyone receipts? Not everyone. Only the people she's using as pressure. I don't want to turn my marriage into a public trial. Dean sighed. She already did. You're not deciding whether this stays private. You're deciding whether her version is the only version. That afternoon, my younger sister Harper called. She did not ask what happened. She said, "Are you safe?" I almost laughed. Yes. Good. Because Alyssa told Aunt Claire you were unstable. I sat down. She said that. She said you showed up uninvited and tried to financially trap her. I paid the deposit. I know. How? Because last month she told Mom how generous you were for covering the venue. Now she says she never wanted you involved. That contradiction felt so obvious I wondered why no one else had noticed. Harper came over that evening with coffee. She found me at the kitchen table surrounded by nothing dramatic. Just my phone, the printed invitation, and a notebook where I had written dates. She picked up the invitation. It says plus spouse. I know. And she told them you weren't attending? Yes. Harper sat across from me. You know what she's doing, right? I know she's lying. She didn't hide the marriage. She hid you. I looked down at the invitation. That sounds worse. It is worse. I don't want to humiliate her. Harper leaned forward. She was comfortable humiliating you because she counted on you protecting her afterward. I said nothing. She tapped the notebook. Silence isn't always classy. Sometimes it's just handing her the pen. I didn't want to turn this into a courtroom. She already put you on trial. That night, I received a message from Tessa. At first, I expected another accusation. Instead, she wrote, "Can I ask you something without this becoming a fight?" I replied, "Yes." A few minutes later, she sent, "Did Alyssa tell you not to come?" "No." "Did she tell you she had reassigned your seat?" "No." Tessa's typing indicator appeared, disappeared, then returned. "She told me you probably wouldn't come because you know you don't fit that crowd." I read the sentence twice. Then I wrote, "She told me the dinner was important for both of us. She asked me to arrive at 7:30. Tessa responded almost immediately. "She told me you two were basically separated." I stared at the screen. "That's interesting," I wrote. "She told me to bring the place cards." Tessa called me. Her voice was quieter than usual. "I'm not taking sides," she said. "You already did." "That's fair." I waited. She continued. "Alyssa has been saying you two are figuring things out." "To whom?" "People." "Which people?" "Our group. Julian. A few others." "For how long?" "I don't know. Months, maybe." I felt pressure behind my eyes, but my voice stayed steady. "What exactly did she say?" "That you were controlling. That you didn't understand this part of her life. That she needed room to feel like herself. She said you were basically separated, but still sharing finances while you work things out. We have not discussed separation once." Tessa went silent. Then she said, "She showed me texts." "What text?" "Arguments. Screenshots." I thought back over our recent fights. Most began with me asking a direct question and ended with Alyssa accusing me of insecurity. Were they complete conversations? Tessa hesitated. "No." I rubbed my forehead. "Tessa, I'm not asking you to betray your friend. But did she tell you I knew I wasn't invited?" "Yes." "Did she tell you I paid the deposit?" "No." "Did she tell you I paid for the photographer and dessert?" "No." She asked me not to mention it. Tessa exhaled. "That explains the venue issue. What did she say happened after I left?" "She said you canceled the whole event." "I didn't cancel anything already served. I removed future authorization from my card. People had to start paying for their own drinks. After the contracted bar period ended, she made it sound like the venue shut everything down. It didn't." Tessa sounded unsettled now. "There's something else." "What?" "She told Julian that you agreed not to attend." My hand tightened around the phone. Did he believe her? I think he believed the part that was convenient. She sent me a screenshot from a conversation Alyssa had started with her a few days before the dinner. Alyssa had written, "Wesley knows this crowd isn't really his thing. I listed him as not attending so Julian could sit near me. I just need one night without husband energy." Tessa had replied, "Is Wesley okay with that?" Alyssa answered, "He knows we're figuring things out." There it was. Not a misunderstanding. Not a seating problem. A decision. I thanked Tessa and ended the call. 10 minutes later, Alyssa came through the front door. She saw me holding my phone and immediately said, "Who have you been talking to?" "Tessa." Her face hardened. "You went behind my back?" "She contacted me." "You're trying to turn my friends against me." "No." Your story stopped making sense." She dropped her purse on a chair. "What did she say?" "That you told people we were basically separated." Alyssa looked toward the hallway. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" "I said we were having problems." "You said I knew I wasn't invited." "You knew I needed space." "No. You needed my card." She shook her head. "You're reducing everything to money." "I'm reducing the money to money. The rest is about you telling people I was an unstable husband who didn't fit your life." "That's not what I said." I held up the screenshot. Her face changed when she recognized it. "You had no right to get that." "I didn't steal it." "Tessa had no right to share it." "That isn't a denial." Alyssa walked to the counter and poured herself water. Her hand shook slightly. "I needed people to understand why you weren't there. I wasn't there because you removed me. You would have made me uncomfortable." "How?" "You stand there looking like you're judging everyone. I paid for half the room. That doesn't give you ownership of me." "I didn't ask for ownership. I asked for the seat you promised me." She set the glass down too hard. "Julian understands me in a way you don't." There it was. She heard it after she said it, because her expression immediately shifted. I nodded once. "Then Julian can pay for the next dinner." "Don't be childish." "I'm being practical." "You're jealous." "I'm not fighting Julian for my wife." She looked at me sharply. "I'm done fighting a story I was never told I was in." For the first time, Alyssa did not have a quick answer. She went upstairs. That evening, she moved into the guest room and locked the door. Over the next several days, she alternated between anger and silence. She sent long messages from inside the house accusing me of financial abuse, emotional withdrawal, jealousy, and public sabotage. I replied only when something required a practical answer. The utilities were paid. The mortgage payment was scheduled. The shared household account was untouched. The card for restaurants, clothes, events, and personal extras remained locked. When she asked why, I wrote, "I will not fund non-essential spending while you publicly describe us as separated and privately use shared money as if nothing has changed." She answered, "So you're punishing me?" I replied, "No, I'm removing the reward." Alyssa's parents invited us to dinner the following Sunday. She accepted for both of us without asking me. When I said I was not interested in an ambush, she told me her parents only wanted to help us communicate. Harper called 5 minutes later and said, "It's an ambush." "How do you know?" "Because Mom was invited too. So was Tessa." I almost refused to go. Then Dean's advice came back to me. "Don't hand her a scene. Hand her a timeline." I agreed to attend, but I prepared. I saved the venue email showing my card was used for the deposit and hold. I saved Alyssa's text asking me to keep my payment secret. I saved the message promising my place card would be at her table. I saved the screenshot Tessa had sent showing Alyssa deliberately listed me as not attending. I did not print a binder. I did not create a presentation. I did not contact half the family. I kept the evidence on my phone and wrote a 6-line timeline in my notes so I would not get dragged into side arguments. The dinner started badly. Alyssa's father barely looked at me when we arrived. Her mother hugged Alyssa for a long time and gave me a tight nod. My mother and Harper were already seated. Tessa arrived a few minutes later and chose a chair near the end of the table. Alyssa sat across from me. For the first 20 minutes, everyone pretended we were having a normal meal. Plates moved around. Someone asked about traffic. Alyssa's father discussed a broken sprinkler head as if his daughter had not accused me of public financial abuse. Then coffee was poured. Alyssa's mother folded her napkin and said, "We need to talk about what happened." Alyssa lowered her eyes. It was a practiced movement, just enough sadness to make everyone else lean toward her. Her mother continued, "Whatever problems exist between you two, cutting payment at an event was cruel." I said, "Did Alyssa tell you why I left?" She said you saw Julian and lost control. Alyssa spoke softly. He did. I looked at her. Describe what losing control looked like. She blinked. You threatened to ruin the dinner. I said I would not fund an event I wasn't invited to. You pulled the card. From future charges. Her father leaned forward. You knew that would embarrass her. I knew the venue would ask the host to pay for services she requested. My mother said, why weren't you invited? Alyssa answered quickly. He knew it was a private event. I took the printed invitation from my coat and placed it beside my plate. It said plus spouse. Alyssa's mother glanced at it. That could have been printed before plans changed. They changed, Alyssa said. I told him. No, I said. You didn't. Her eyes filled with tears. You never listen. Harper shifted in her chair, but I gave her a small shake of my head. Alyssa continued. I needed one night where I wasn't being watched or judged. Wesley showed up anyway, saw Julian, and made everything about his insecurity. A relative who had joined us said, Wesley, even if you were hurt, you should have handled it privately. I placed my phone on the table. You're right. Private would have been better. But she made the lie public first. Alyssa's jaw tightened. What lie? I opened the venue confirmation. This is the deposit. My card. I opened the Zelle receipt. This is the event hold she asked me to send. Then the photographer approval. This is the add-on. Alyssa's father looked at her. You said you paid for the event. I paid for parts of it. I showed the text. Please don't tell people you covered this. I just want one night that feels like mine. The table became quiet. Alyssa said, that doesn't prove anything. It proves you wanted the support hidden. You're twisting everything. No. I'm putting the pieces back in the order you hid them. I opened the message where she told me to arrive at 7:30 and promised my place card would be waiting. Then I opened Tessa's screenshot. I turned the phone so her parents could read it. Wesley knows this crowd isn't really his thing. I listed him as not attending so Julian could sit near me. I just need one night without husband energy. Alyssa's mother read it twice. Her father sat back. My mother looked at me with an expression that hurt more than anger. She looked ashamed that she had believed any part of Alyssa's version. Alyssa reached for my phone. I moved it away. That was private, she said. So was our marriage. She looked at Tessa. You sent him that. Tessa did not flinch. You told me he agreed. He knew we were having problems. Tessa asked, did you tell people you were separated? Alyssa's eyes moved around the table. No one spoke. Tessa repeated the question. Did you tell people you and Wesley were basically separated? Alyssa looked at her mother, then down at her plate. It wasn't like that. I said, then say what it was. She pressed her lips together. That silence is the answer, Harper said. Alyssa snapped, stay out of this. Harper leaned back. You put all of us in it. Alyssa's father rubbed his forehead. Why would you tell people you were separated if you weren't? I said we were figuring things out. Were you? He asked. Alyssa did not answer. I did. No. She never said the word separation to me until after the dinner. Her mother looked confused. Then why was Julian seated beside you? Alyssa's voice sharpened. Because he supported me. I almost laughed. Her father pointed at my phone. Who paid the deposit? That isn't emotional support. No, I said. That was apparently transportation. Alyssa glared at me. You're enjoying this. I'm not. And I wasn't. Watching her lose control of the story did not feel like victory. It felt like finally looking at a wound after spending months pretending the blood came from somewhere else. Alyssa suddenly stood. He cut me off because another man was there. I locked one card used for non-essential spending after you told people we were separated. You want everyone to think I used you. Did you? Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Tessa spoke again. There's one more message. Alyssa turned toward her. Tessa, don't. Tessa looked at me. It's from Julian. She held up her phone. I asked him after the dinner whether he knew Wesley was supposed to be there. Alyssa reached for her purse. Her mother said, sit down. Tessa read the message. Julian had written. Alyssa said Wesley understood. She told me a night without the husband energy might be good for her. I didn't know he paid for anything. Tessa scrolled. Then she read another line. He also wrote. I thought they were already halfway out of the marriage. The room went still. Alyssa whispered, he's covering himself. Probably, I said. Her father asked, did Julian know you were married? Of course he knew. Did he know Wesley was not actually separated from you? Alyssa's voice rose. I don't know what he thought. You told him what to think, Tessa said. Alyssa looked at me. So now you're going to blame me for what Julian assumed. I don't care what Julian assumed. She laughed bitterly. Right? You're above it. No, I'm simply not fighting him for my wife. I'm showing everyone I was never told there was a competition. Alyssa's mother covered her mouth. My own mother stared at the table. The relative who had told me to handle it privately said nothing. Alyssa sat back down. Her anger disappeared for a moment, replaced by fear. What do you want? She asked. It was the first honest question she had asked me in days. I want you to admit what you did without making my reaction the main problem. I already said I handled it badly. No, that means nothing. What do you want me to say? That you removed me intentionally. That you gave my seat to Julian. That you told people we were separated. That you used my money while hiding my role. That you called me controlling when I noticed. Alyssa's eyes watered. You want me to humiliate myself. I want you to tell the truth. She shook her head. I can't do this in front of everyone. Harper said, you did the lying in front of everyone. I raised a hand. This isn't about forcing a confession at the table. Then I looked at Alyssa. But these are the boundaries from now on. Her expression hardened again. Here we go. Our non-essential finances stay separate. You can't just decide that. I already did. You're my husband. And you told people I was almost your ex. Her father looked away. I continued. The household bills stay paid. Shared necessities stay covered. Personal events, trips, dinners, and social expenses are your responsibility unless we agree in advance. So I need permission? No. You need your own money. She stared at me. I'm also meeting with a family attorney. Her mother inhaled sharply. Alyssa's face went white. You're threatening divorce? I'm protecting myself before you tell more people we're separated while using our finances like we're not. You're throwing away 7 years over one night. No. One night showed me what you had already been building. She looked down at her hands. I noticed she was wearing her wedding ring again. It did not comfort me. I'm willing to attend counseling, I said, but only if you begin by admitting what happened. Not communication issues. Not my insecurity. Not stress. What you did. And if I don't, then counseling would just give you better language to avoid accountability. Alyssa's father said quietly, that's fair. She turned toward him as if he had betrayed her. You're taking his side? I'm taking the side of what I just read. Alyssa pushed back from the table and left. Her mother started to follow, then stopped. No one asked me to apologize after that. The ride home was silent. Alyssa sat in the passenger seat with her arms folded, looking out the window. When we reached the house, she went inside before I had fully parked. The wrapped gift from the dinner was still on the kitchen counter. She saw it. What is that? The gift I brought. She stared at the paper. What did you get me? It doesn't matter now. She reached toward it. I picked it up first. Her face crumpled. You're really doing this. Doing what? Turning cold. I was warm when you needed someone to pay. That's cruel. It's accurate. She followed me into the living room. Are you really willing to throw away 7 years? I looked at the wedding photo on the hallway shelf. In it, Alyssa was laughing with both hands around my arm. She had been proud to be seen with me then. No, I said. I was willing to work for 7 years. I'm not willing to disappear for an eighth. She started crying. This time, it did not look staged. That almost made it harder. I didn't sleep with him, she said. I didn't ask. Nothing physical happened. I didn't ask because the answer doesn't fix this. So you think I cheated? I think you created a version of our marriage where another man got the seat, your friends got the story, and I got the bill. She wiped her face. I just wanted to feel independent. Then you should have paid for your own dinner. That's not what I mean. I know. You wanted the image of independence without the cost of it. She sat down. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, I didn't know how to tell people I was unhappy. You could have told me. You make everything practical. Because whenever I asked what was wrong, you told me I was imagining it. She looked at the floor. I liked how people saw me without you. The honesty of that sentence cut deeper than any accusation. I nodded slowly. Then we need to stop pretending this is about one dinner. She did not argue. The next morning, I scheduled a consultation with a family attorney. I did not file for divorce that day. I wanted to understand our financial exposure, what separating accounts legally meant, and how to protect myself if Alyssa continued telling people we were already separated. The attorney advised me to document shared debts, stop informally funding large personal expenses, and avoid moving or hiding marital assets. That matched what I had already done. Household finances stayed stable. Personal spending separated. No revenge purchases. No emptied accounts. No secret transfers. The remaining hotel balance was Alyssa's responsibility because it had been charged to the replacement card she provided after mine was removed. She tried twice to move the amount back onto our shared card. Both attempts failed because the card remained locked. A week later, she paid the balance from her personal savings. She did not speak to me that evening. Julian disappeared quickly. He stopped commenting on Alyssa's posts. Then he stopped appearing in group photos. According to Tessa, he told people he did not want to be involved in marriage drama. That was convenient. He had enjoyed the emotional status of being the man Alyssa chose when she wanted to breathe, but he had no interest in the financial consequences, family questions, or responsibility that came with it. He sent me one message. "Hey man, I honestly didn't know the full situation. I never wanted to disrespect you." I replied, "You accepted my seat after being told my marriage was halfway over. Whether you knew who paid is not my concern. Do not contact me again." He didn't. Tessa apologized 2 weeks after the family dinner. Her message said, "I'm sorry. I believed her because she sounded so sure. I should have asked more questions before treating you like the problem." I replied, "That's why I stopped letting her be the only one talking." Some people never apologize directly. They simply change their behavior. The relative who told me I was controlling started sending neutral texts again. Alyssa's mother called and said she was sorry she had accepted Alyssa's version without speaking to me. My mother cried when she apologized. Harper did not say, "I told you so," though I could tell it took effort. Dean only said, "Keep the timeline." Alyssa agreed to counseling after 3 weeks, but the first session nearly ended our marriage. The counselor asked what brought us in. Alyssa said, "We have communication problems, and Wesley uses money when he feels threatened." I sat quietly. The counselor turned to me. I said, "That is not an acceptable summary." Then I explained the dinner, the guest list, the seat reassignment, and the separation story. The counselor asked Alyssa whether those facts were accurate. Alyssa said, "Technically." I stood up. "I'm leaving." She looked shocked. "We just got here. I told you I would attend counseling if you admitted what happened. Technically is not accountability." The counselor asked me to sit for 1 more minute. Then she turned to Alyssa and said, "Did you intentionally tell the venue your husband was not attending?" Alyssa stared at the floor. "Yes." "Did you assign his seat to Julian?" "Yes." "Did you tell friends you were essentially separated?" Alyssa's eyes filled. "Yes." "Had you discussed separation with Wesley?" "No." "Did Wesley pay for parts of the event?" "Yes." The counselor paused. "Then start there." Alyssa cried for most of the session. For once, I did not rush to comfort her out of the consequences. We attended 4 more sessions. I wish I could say everything changed quickly. It did not. Alyssa still tried to explain her behavior through loneliness, pressure, and feeling unseen. Some of those feelings may have been real. I was not a perfect husband. I could become overly practical. I sometimes solved problems when she wanted empathy. I had withdrawn from arguments instead of addressing them. But none of that justified rewriting our marital status to other people. None of it justified taking my money while hiding me. None of it justified giving my seat to a man she used as emotional backup. The difference was that I no longer accepted shared blame as a substitute for her accountability. Whenever she said, "We both made mistakes," I answered, "We can discuss mine after you finish naming yours." That sentence made her angry the first few times. Then it made her quiet. A month after the dinner, Alyssa posted a picture of herself without her wedding ring. In the past, I would have called and asked why. I would have worried about who saw it and what they thought. This time, I did nothing. She came into the kitchen that evening and said, "You didn't notice my post?" I noticed. And nothing. "You don't care?" "I care about what happens in the marriage. I'm done managing your public image." She stood there for a moment. Then she deleted the picture. Not because I asked. Because it no longer produced the reaction she wanted. We are still legally married as I tell this. We are not back to normal, and I no longer use that word as the goal. The non-essential finances remain separate. The attorney's number is still in my phone. Counseling continues only as long as Alyssa speaks plainly about what happened. She has admitted to her parents, Tessa, and 2 mutual friends that we were not separated when she told them we were. She has not corrected the story with everyone. and I have stopped chasing each person who heard it. The people who matter have seen enough. The wrapped gift was a bracelet engraved with the date we met. I returned it. The refund went back to my card. That detail bothered Alyssa more than I expected. She asked why I could not save it in case things improved. I told her I did not want a symbol waiting in a drawer for a version of us that might never exist again. For years, I thought being a good husband meant absorbing embarrassment without reacting. I thought loyalty required me to protect Alyssa even when she was the one hurting me. I thought maturity meant ending every argument by apologizing first. What happened at the dinner changed that. Not because I became angrier, because I became clearer. I no longer check whether Alyssa includes me in her posts. I no longer pay for appearances designed to erase me. I no longer let the word controlling end a conversation whenever I ask for basic honesty. And I no longer confuse silence with dignity when someone is using that silence to rewrite me. I didn't ruin her night. I stopped paying for the version of our marriage where I was only welcome on the bill. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.